The next category that we will induct is the Veterans category. The Veterans category was added in 1997 and basically put in place to honor players who were overlooked or bypassed in voting. Very often you get situations in voting where, remember, you only go on the ballot for 3 years. Somebody goes on the ballot, and then all of a sudden this influx of superstars, Gates and people like that come along, and people get kind of shunted aside. And the veterans section was put in to alleviate that. Now, players must have ended their playing careers prior to 1990 to be eligible to be nominated as veterans. And then next year, 2025, that'll be moved up to 1995. And every 5 years, it gets bumped up 5 years. There's a saying in most sports, lacrosse included, that defense wins championships. One of the most respected defensive players of his era, tonight's inductee in the Veterans category certainly supports that adage. After playing minor lacrosse in Brampton, he joined the Bramalia Junior A team in 1968 and played there until graduating in 1971, being named his team's outstanding defensive player in his graduating year. In 1969, he impressed the Peterborough Lakers of the Semi-Professional National Lacrosse Association so much that they called the 19-year-old up to help them on their run to the NLA title. Although known primarily as a defensive specialist, he still managed to accumulate 170 goals and 127 assists for 234 points in only 90 Junior A games. Upon graduation, he joined the Brampton Excelsiors, still playing in the OLA Senior B League, and helped them to a President's Cup title while being named the league's top defender. Except for a stop in Philadelphia with the 1974 National Lacrosse League Wings, he spent the rest of his major career with the now promoted Excelsiors, leading them to Man Cup appearances in 1975, 76, 77, 80, when they defeated New Westminster to win the crown, and again in 1981. Making him the only Brampton player to play in 5 Man Cup series. He ended his major career after the 1981 season, but rejoined the club in 1984 for a final campaign. Although still an outstanding defender during his major career, as evidenced by his being named the Excelsior's premier defender in 1975, he amassed 394 points, including 128 goals, in his Senior A tenure. 35 of these points came with the Excelsiors, placing him 12th on the club's all-time scoring list. Pretty impressive for a defensive specialist. After hanging up his stick, he continued in the sport, coaching the Brampton Junior A team from 1992 to 95, leading them to a Minto Cup berth in 1994 and twice being named Ontario Junior A Coach of the Year. He served as Excelsior's club president in 1984 and 85 and was made a lifetime club member in 1989. He was honored by induction into both the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame in 2001 and the Brampton Sports Hall of Fame in 2004, and tonight receives his well-earned membership in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame, Barry Richardson.
My wife Diane and I would like to thank the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame and the selection committee for selecting me as a veteran in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. It's an honor. I would like to congratulate fellow inductees for their contribution and remarkable careers in the game of lacrosse. I feel what played a huge part in my career in the Brampton Excelsior organization were the coaches, managers, fellow teammates, and trainers. Coaches that had an impact are Revis Bennett, Gus McCauley, and Kenny Lawton. Managers throughout my career were Bob Bartlett, Dean McLeod, Everett Coates, and Jimmy Nesbitt. Trainers throughout my career were Bruce Elliott, Bob Sanderson, and Bobby Nesbitt. I was fortunate at a young age while playing Junior A for the Excelsiors in 1968. Our club affiliated with Montreal, and I got to play for Montreal a couple of games in the Pro Lacrosse League. In 1969, our Junior A team affiliated with Peterborough Lakers, and I was honored to be picked up by Peterborough Lakers, a semi-pro league coached by Bobby Allen, and being part of a team winning the Canadian Championship over New Westminster in 7 games, and playing with players like Cy Coombs, Pat Baker, Johnny Davis, Joey Todd, and Karen Collins, to name a few. What a thrill at the age of 19. In 1972, I played on what I call an all-star Senior B Excelsior championship team, coached by Kenny Lawton, managed by Jim Nesbitt and Everett Coates. In 1973, the team moved up from Senior B to Senior A or Major, and we placed 3rd in a 5-team league and were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. In 1974, the Pro Lacrosse League started up again, and I was drafted by Philadelphia Wings, coached by Bobby Allen and managed by Jack Bionda. What a thrill it was to play for them. Our first game to play at the Philadelphia Spectrum was right after Philadelphia Flyers, Broad Street Bullies, won their first Stanley Cup. They played that afternoon, and we played right after them to a full house, crazy crowd. The following year, in 1975, I didn't return to Philly because they wanted everybody to quit their jobs and live in Philadelphia. My wife and I decided not to play there because I had a full-time job and owned a house. So I returned to play for the Brampton Excelsiors for Coach Ken Lawton, and managed again by Jim Nesbitt, Everett Coates, where our run started for Eastern titles, 1975, 1976, 77, 80, and 81. The only change made was Gus McCauley took over coaching in 1977 after he coached us in Junior A. Gus was a colorful coach and a motivator. Everybody wanted to play for him. The best way to describe Gus is what Don Cherry meant to NHL hockey. In 1978 and 1979, Gus didn't coach, and a lot of players stopped playing for the Excelsiors. Then Gus came back halfway through the 1980 season, and some players came back to play for him, and we finally won the end goal, the Canadian Man Cup over New Westminster. That year, our loss record was greater than our win record, including regular season, playoffs, and Man Cup wins. We returned in 1981 and lost to New Westminster in the Canadian Finals. After my playing career, I got involved in coaching the Junior A Excelsiors from 1992 to 1995 and made one appearance in the Middle Cup in 1994, losing to New Westminster in 7 games. After that, I went and assisted coaching minor lacrosse and later coaching my grandson's lacrosse team from 2010 to 2013. I would like to thank my fellow lacrosse players and longtime friends for making this possible. Steve Mastine, Michael Bryan, Brian Robinson, Bob Burke, Gord Keats, Bram and Dave Wilfong. Just to name a few over my career as the list goes on. My special thanks to the late Dean McLeod, who was my manager in Junior A and had input into the teams for my 14-year career in junior and major lacrosse. I would like to thank my family group. Growing up, I had 3 brothers much older than me, Ken, Bill, Jim, that played lacrosse, baseball, and hockey. They had a huge impact on my life as a child. I was 10 years old and had a brother playing Junior A and another brother playing Senior A in the early 1960s on the great Excelsior teams back then. Special thanks to my mother, who encouraged us to play sports and was our biggest fan. A special thanks to my wife Diane of 51 years for putting up with my games, my practices, highs, lows, mood swings, and sacrifices during the summer. Thank you.
Please welcome Barry Richardson. Incidentally, as Barry makes his way up here, for those of you that are, I guess, under 40 in the video, those wooden things in the corner of the picture, those are known as real lacrosse sticks, just so you know. Oop.